sometimes stories are the only way that I can give you a sense of my work. Quite a few years ago, we went back to Maui. My wife and I, Nicole, met on Maui, which is kind of odd. I was practicing chiropractic in Houston. When I did my second seminar in this work, I went to a friend of mine's wife, Deborah, and I said to her, would you find me a wife? And I'm still really, really grateful to Deborah for doing that, because I didn't seem to be very capable of it. I was 34, 35 years old. I flew to Maui from Houston for a seminar. My wife was at first assisting a seminar and then doing a seminar, and she was from Switzerland, so the chances of us meeting are pretty slim. You know, it's a pretty serendipitous meeting. And we've been going back to Maui as often as we can, because we love it. A little man-made shit with it now with the radiation from Japan. We really have to stop this nuclear energy. You know, it's not green. It's going to kill the planet. But that's another story. I'll get there. But when we went back about 6 or 7 years ago, we went there to do a month-long. And we had been associated with the Maui Dharma Center, which is the Buddhist center there. And the monk who had been there was a Tibetan monk. He had escaped from Tibet. He had studied 2 lineages of Buddhism. And he married Nicole and I, and he blessed all of our children. And he passed away from cancer. And then he asked for a young monk to come and be the monk for the Dharma Center. This young monk didn't want to because he had a lot of work to do in India, and they finally kind of almost forced him to be there. And we were there. I didn't realize at first that he'd only been there a few weeks. They'd been monkless, as it were, for years. And about 5 or 6 weeks before we showed up for the month-long, Lama Gelson showed up. Young man, great guy. And we were in a meeting, in the ceremony. And what was happening was Lydia, our youngest, was about 2.5, 3 years old. She was getting blessed. And I don't know if you know about Buddhist blessings, but they use rice and water, and they sprinkle you with water, and they throw rice at you. And the first time Lama Gelson threw rice and sprinkled water at Lydia, she was sitting at the front of the temple, and she kind of started looking around trying to figure out where the water was coming from. And the second time he sprinkled her, she said, "Hey, stop that." And he had to stop completely the ceremony for about 5 minutes because we were all laughing so hard. He was just so tickled. And we walked outside, and there was a gal that I'd noticed who had been at the temple the whole time I was there, but apparently she'd been studying with Lama Gelson since he'd come over from India. And we walked outside, and she said, "You know, mister, I don't know who you are." She said, "But Lama Gelson's happier since you've been here." Ah, cool. We can impact lamas. We can take a month long, and we can impact people with a real strong emotional stability. I was just really, it made me happier too.